I must admit, I did see this headline here on the F1Chronicle.com and I thought, I don't know about that. This seems like a bit of a skill issue. This seems like a bit of an excuse because at the end of the day, the Formula One circuits are the same for everybody. For lack of a better term, these drivers should just get on with it, especially if they are trying to win a championship this year like Oscar Piastri is. But team principal of McLaren Formula One team, Andrea Stella, is absolutely adamant that Piastri's dip in form is due to low grip circuits that he has recently raced on. Like I said, this does seem like a bit of a skill issue, but let's have a look at his reasoning here on the F1Chronicle.com, as always. McLaren team principal Andrea Stella believes that Oscar Piastri's recent drop in performance could be tied to a series of low-grip Formula One circuits, which have exposed a specific weakness in the Australian's driving style. After a commanding victory at the Dutch Grand Prix, Piastri led the Drivers' Championship by 34 points over teammate Lando Norris and held a 104-point advantage over Max Verstappen. However, just 6 races later, the tables have turned completely and Norris now leads the standings by 1 point, with Verstappen only 35 points behind heading into the final 4 rounds of the season. Piastri's recent form has been turbulent to say the least. In Azerbaijan, he endured a disastrous weekend, crashing in qualifying, jumping the start, and then colliding on the opening lap of the race before retiring. His misfortunes continued in the US GP sprint, where he crashed out with Norris at turn 1 on the opening lap. The Australian has not finished ahead of Norris in a race where both cars saw the checkered flag since the Belgian Grand Prix in July, and his last podium came in Italy, marking 4 consecutive races outside the top 3. Speaking after the Mexico City Grand Prix, Andrea Stella explained that McLaren's analysis suggested that Piastri's struggles are linked to how he adapts to low grip conditions, which is a characteristic shared by recent venues in Austin and Mexico City. Explaining, quote, "After qualifying in Mexico, we reviewed with Oscar extensively from data, comments and video. We extracted some important information about how the car needs to be driven in these special low grip conditions. It looks like you have to drive the car in a way that adapts to the fact that it slides a lot and can still produce a lap time. That's not necessarily the way that Oscar naturally feels he's producing lap time." End quote. The McLaren boss added that both car setup and driving adjustments were identified to help Piastri adapt, explaining, quote, "We found a few things that we could do with the car and a few things that he could do with his driving. Oscar should be very proud of how he's handled the transition from qualifying to the race. We saw that he applied what we discussed. His race pace was much more competitive. It's a shame that he couldn't use that pace properly because he spent the entire race looking at the gearbox of the car ahead." End quote. However, Stella is seeing the positives in this and putting it down very much to a learning experience for the young Aussie, who, lest we forget, is only in his 3rd season of Formula One. Saying, quote, "It's important for Oscar that we go through this kind of experience, learning new tools to add to the toolbox. That's how you become the most complete version of a Formula One driver. It's also important for the next 4 races where we'll face different conditions again. We need to be ready for all of them." End quote. And of course, rain is one of those conditions we'll likely see this weekend in Brazil. It's been forecast for Saturday. Of course, there is always a threat of thunderstorms in Interlagos. They can basically just come from nowhere. It's not too dissimilar in a sense to Belgium, although of course Belgium it's usually colder weather, but Brazil you very much do get a lot of big storms, so it's going to be very difficult. Of course, last year we saw a lot of issues with the track. I don't expect them to be repeated this year. Of course, the main reason why that was is because they resurfaced it right before the event. Great idea, guys, that's a fantastic one there, but we shouldn't see a repeat of that this year. Although Brazil in the wet is very difficult because it's a very uphill and downhill track. So yeah, pressure very much on Piastri. It's very much fight or flight for him right now. Is he going to rise to the challenge? Is he going to get his form back, or is he going to crumble? You know, I see it really going one of two ways, and either way, no matter what happens, he can hold his head up high and say that he's competed in his first ever title fight in Formula One, but he will be disappointed. However, if he doesn't get it this year, it will come. He will get a championship eventually. But guys, get your thoughts in the comments below. How is he going to perform this weekend? I want to hear what you have to say as always. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys. Have a fantastic day wherever you're on the world today, and we'll see you very soon.